Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bloom Conversations. I'm Clare Dewhirst. I'm the Director of City Nation Place, which is the global forum for place branding and place marketing. I'm honoured that Bloom Consulting has invited me to join these podcast sessions just to introduce the discussions. I see my job as asking the questions on behalf of you to ensure that we learn the most from the Bloom experts and their guest speakers. This podcast series has been launched to celebrate Bloom's 20th anniversary. Happy birthday, Bloom. And throughout the series, we'll be diving into the world of nation branding and place branding. In each episode, we'll be looking at just one thing you could focus on to improve your nation or place brand strategy. In fact, in each episode, we'll be focusing on one of the 14 steps that Bloom have identified as being crucial to building an effective strategy. So just one thing today and 14 things over the series of conversations. So welcome to this episode where we're going to be focusing on step 9 of those 14 steps to nation brand. And this one is all about the nation brand management model. And I'm looking forward to hearing from Joao Vasco Neves, who is the partner at Bloom Consulting, to explain a little bit what he means by this. And then we're delighted also to have with us today Adriana Acosta, who is the country brand director for Costa Rica. And Costa Rica's nation brand is very well known for its strong, robust governance model. So it's going to be, I'm sure, a very informative conversation. Welcome to both of you. Welcome, Joao. Welcome, Adriana.
Hello, thank you.
Such a pleasure to be here.
So let's start, Joao, with you. Explain to me and explain to our listeners, what you mean by a nation brand management model.
Very well. Thank you very much, Claire, for the introduction. So this is the step 9 of 14 steps that we're covering in this series. And this one focuses on something very special. And before anything else, just very honored to be joined by Adriana to talk about this. So this is the transition from having an interim team to having an executive team, which means taking an official structured ownership of the brand. This is a stage that comes after all the stakeholder interviews, all the research, all the workshops, all the work, all the strategy definition. It's time to start implementing and taking ownership of this brand. So we're talking about building a robust governance model that ensures the effectiveness of this implementation. And in order to implement, we need a team, and building a team that is fully dedicated to managing this brand strategy, that is trained, that is competent, and that is fully on brand and fully understands what the brand represents and what the central idea is and what are the values of this brand and its long-term goals. This will enable us, or enable the brand and its team, to consistently and coherently take care of this implementation, take care of its promotion, take care of all parts of brand management. This is the foundation for decision-making, for risk mitigation, for capacity building, meaning for brands to be prepared for what's coming for them, for what the future may hold. Adriana will know better than anyone that there will be easy times, hard times, and everything in between. And we need to be ready for everything that is thrown our way. And it's also a beautiful opportunity to create a space for leadership, for innovation, for collaboration, and to take a brand to the next level and to create wonderful things with it and to reach its objectives.
Well, thank you, Joao. That sounds quite challenging, to be honest. But I know, Adriana, because we were chatting about the longevity of the essential Costa Rica brand. And so, that obviously is built on that strong foundation and a strong management model. So I'd love to hear more from you on that. Can you explain a little bit more about how that's structured and the challenges you faced and perhaps how having that management model has enabled you to get through those and get the Costa Rica brand to where it is today?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. And it's a pleasure to share some insights about our country brand, Essential Costa Rica. Our country brand was created in 2013. So last year was our 10th anniversary. And we have achieved milestone in these 10 years related to awards and recognitions. For example, in City Nation Place, we were the winners of the Country Brand of the Year and also Best of Design with our biometric passport. And right now, we know that these 10 years is a time to meditate and to understand what we are going to do for the next 10 years. So currently, we continue working on positioning Costa Rica's value proposition to attract exports, tourism, and foreign direct investment. But the most important thing here is that Essential Costa Rica is a shared vision between citizens, public, and private sector. So we work very close to these sectors to ensure that our value proposition aligns with their needs. So we try that every marketing effort and advertising is customized to meet these different interests and goals of these targets, and also ensuring the relevance for them. And we, for us, it's also important to exchange experience with other country brands. We usually go to the City Nation Americas and Global, and also we are part of CIMAP, that is the Ibero-American Council of Country Brands. And in those spaces, we learn about other best practices in other countries, and that is important for us to understand what are they doing and the best practice that we can also apply in our country. So we are proud of what we have achieved, but also we have challenges. And for example, one of them is how to get citizens identified with our brand. That is very important for us. Citizens that feel that Essential Costa Rica is part of their lives, and how can we make that they love our brand. So that is a continuous challenge for any country brand. Also, ensuring that companies continue to believe in this country brand project. That's what we have our licensing program, but it's a constant work for them to understand the value as a country brand that we can share with them to project their companies around the world, but also with different events and networking spaces that we organize for them. And also, another challenge is establishing partnership with the public sector and working on joint projects. And in general, is a continue analyze trends and rankings to keep our country brands proposition relevant. So that's why we decided that our 10th anniversary was the perfect opportunity to define our strategy for the next decade. So with the advice of both consulting, we established our new strategy, and we consider three areas. The first one is understand through interviews with the stakeholders from different sectors, academic, tourism, private, and also public sector, and evaluate the current performance of the country and their vision now and in 10 years, how they imagine Costa Rica in 10 years. Second, Bloom Consulting analyzed global trends from relevant sources like the World Economic Forum, and they define the mega trends that will be prevalent in the coming years. So, for example, climate change or conflicts, and there are like 12 different mega trends that will be important for us to take in account. And finally, we became the first country brand to use artificial intelligence to model and analyze future scenarios and risks. Bloom developed a forecast for the next 10 years with artificial intelligence. And with all of these ingredients, we cook our new strategy, and we defined 4 topics that will be our goal for next 10 years. But natural assets were defined as the most relevant for our country. And because also we have facts to talk about this with property, but also because they have the greatest potential to have an international media coverage. So with this guidance from Bloom, we define our brand proposition for the next 10 years.
Oh, thank you for the input, Adriana. Very interesting to hear about all this. Nowadays, we do hear a lot about sustainability from every country brand on the planet, not even at the country level, but regions and cities as well. Everyone is claiming to be sustainable. There's 1001 publicity stunts and greenwashing, and some sentences even becoming cliche in this area. And what I would like to know is the concept of natural intelligence, something that we've been hearing a lot about Costa Rica. How do you differentiate yourselves from all these other destinations? How do you walk the talk? And how does this impact your governance and management model?
Yeah, we know that a lot of countries and regions are talking about sustainability, and I think it's important because it's a main topic and it's very important for our planet. But as a country, since the 80s, we have understood that we can combine economic growth with environmental protection. Moreover, we have facts to prove Costa Rica's dedication to be a sustainable country. We are a small country and we cover just less than 1% of the world's land area. So we are really small, but we have the 6.5% of the world's biodiversity. And that is important. And not every country can say that. Also, we have the 57% of forest coverage, and we protect the 25% of our continental territory and the 30% of maritime territory. And then 95% of the energy is produced from renewable sources. So we have a lot of facts that can prove that we are really concerned about this and we are working on protect our environment. So from there, the concept of natural intelligence emerged, and from those smart decisions related to environment that we have been making for decades. So that is very important for us. Not like yesterday we decided, sustainability is going to be something interesting. No, we have been doing that for several years. And we want to share what makes us unique and our natural intelligence, our way of understanding the world and connecting deeply with nature and addressing challenges with our own essence. And for us, that is our natural intelligence. And it's also our new concept of our new campaign.
It's great to hear how you've evolved that positioning for Essential Costa Rica. And I sometimes I think we should play nation branding bingo, and because I hear there are certain words that are used, and you're worried that they're overused. But essentially, you're able to make that transition because it's authentic, because it's based on reality, which is always good to hear. But I guess, given that the conversation that we're having today, which is around governance and management, it would be good to understand a little bit more about the model, but how that gave you the structure to just so naturally evolve the brand positioning. Essential Costa Rica is the country brand, and you have a board or a governance structure that then involves all of the key government departments, I believe. And then the other thing, which everyone's envious of, but I'm not sure people know exactly how it was put in place. I know that you always say that you're protected from changes of government, and I think people would like to understand how that works or what came into place to enable you to not worry when a new government comes in that your new prime minister might suddenly say, no, we're not based on sustainability. We're going to be the world's greatest nuclear power or something. So can you explain a little bit more about the governance model for Essential Costa Rica and what you think the advantages are of having that governance model in place?
Okay, of course, Claire. And we believe that one of our strengths is our governance, the way that we were created, because our governance was established by a presidential decree. And this decree includes the participation of the Costa Rican Investment and Trade Agency, also the Tourism Board, the International Trade Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the Cultural Ministry. So we have different points of view and different sectors in our governance, and that is very important for us. And we have like interinstitutional committee that is held by their leads, and they get together each 3 months. And in these meetings, they define like general strategy and approve big projects. And also we have a technical unit, and we get together monthly with the marketing specialists of these ministries. And over there, we discuss campaigns and also approve events that are going to have our country brand, like Event Essential Costa Rica. But the everyday of the brand is in the hands of the Costa Rica Investment and Trade Agency. And this ensure that the brand is not affected by government changes, allowing us to maintain continuity in our brand's messaging. Also, every 4 years, we do a lobbying effort with the new government because we need that they love our brand and believe in our message. And this allowed us to maintain continuity in the brand's messaging. We have good relations with public and also private sector. And I think that this governance is good for us and have been successful in these 10 years. But Joao, I want to ask you, what do you think should be our role, our Costa Rica Nation Brand role for the next 10 years?
Well, thank you, Adriana. I would say that Vision 2035 is a very ambitious goal. We've had the chance to go over it, and I think anyone that reads to those objectives will understand how ambitious and pioneer like it is. But you've proven over the last 10 years, that, as you were saying when you were mentioning your challenges, that you were able to handle ambitious projects and that Costa Rica is a leader and not a follower. And you're able to set your own trends and you're able to walk the talk, meaning the sustainable environmental conservation is not just a tagline for you. It's something that we actually see in Costa Rica and that applies to almost every single aspect of your brand for tourists, for investors, for the people who live there, for people who go and study or work. You do see that this ideal, this feeling in Costa Rica. And this innovator approach, obviously, it will be something that will continue and hopefully will evolve into something else. And the concept of natural intelligence, as all the other concepts related to Vision 2035 are excellent approaches that obviously you cannot do on your own. And you mentioned your relationship with government, your relationship with private sector, how you need to do citizen engagement, how you need to have this group of stakeholders, how you need to pay attention to diplomacy, and also constantly monitoring these results and monitoring the impact of all of your actions. This is the key for the next 10 years to ensure that the brand will continue to be successful. And you mentioned it was the first nation brand to use artificial intelligence and prediction models, combining with a lot of different sources, and keep using these intelligence tools, keep using them to predict future crises, to implement and adapt your projects, to stay on brands, and to keep being an innovator. I think that's the key. You already have the basis covered. You're more than experienced. You know what Costa Rica is, what it has to offer. Just keep being a pioneer, keep being an innovator. And I think that's the way to ensure success over the next 10 years for the Costa Rica brands.
Yeah, so I'm taking from that the team know the brand inside out, but that job of managing and of managing all the stakeholders and managing all the elements, that's what requires the right structure in place so that you can keep working in the right direction. And so, I mean, Joao, for people listening to this podcast, what would be the key tips that you would give them? What would you take from the Costa Rica example for your kind of template recommendations for a management team or a management structure for, I guess, not just a nation brand, but any place brand?
Very good. And the first thing that I would say is that this is not something that can be copy pasted. We cannot take the Costa Rica model and put it anywhere else in the world exactly as it is. The Costa Rican model, as Adriana said, something founded on Costa Rican values. It works well with the institutions that they have. It works well with the assets that they have. So you cannot try to really copy a model and put it somewhere else. That's why brand strategy, brand research, that's why having information, that's why having a strategic guidance is important before you move on to this step. Before professionalizing the management of the brand, you have to create all these bases for it to be successful. I would say there are some common elements that we can find in also successful institutions of this type. And Adriana, for sure, will know a few more than the ones that I'm about to say. But to build a dedicated and aligned executive team is essential. You need to have proper governance, and this governance needs to be fully engaged with its local institutions, private, public, governmental, NGOs, diplomats. Everyone needs to be aligned with the brand for it to work and for the brand management model to work. The second one I would say is to foster collaboration. It's not just enough to involve the stakeholders as in telling them what to do and what the brand is, but do actively listen to them. Do try to get them involved in every action. Do try to make them feel proud of their country brands and identify themselves with it, being academic institutions, private companies, public institutions, and above all, be resilient, be adaptable, be innovative. These are the foundations of a good brand management model. And this is something that we clearly find in Costa Rica.
Well, you make it sound so easy, Joao, and I am being slightly sarcastic. That is many things to be. But I think the one thing I'm really taking away from what you've said is that your structure needs to be culturally appropriate, then it needs to work within your culture. And, that there is no one size fits all. So as long as you've thought about what will work best for where you are, bearing in mind all of those tasks that need to be an ongoing part of promoting and projecting your brand, then that's the right thing to do. That's what I'm taking from today's conversation. I can see we're running out of time. So much to say in so little time. Thank you so much for joining us, Adriana. Really, as always, interesting to hear what's happening in Costa Rica. And thank you, Joao, for giving us the expert's perspective around what's happening in Costa Rica as well. But anyway, I look forward to the next episode when we'll be looking the next steps in building a nation brand. But for now, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.